maybe you're working yourself a little bit too hard and you might want to back off a little bit that day and then check the next day and see what you're at in terms of recovery. But another point you hit there, Eric, was consistency. You can have the best training plan in the world, you can have all the heart rate stuff, you can buy all your Garmins and all the rest, but if you're not out there running, if you're not out there doing it, you know, a shitty plan done consistently is a lot better than the best plan in the world not done at all. And on that note, Aaron, how's your runs going this week? Hey guys, Seán here, and welcome to another episode of the Any Given Runday Podcast. Of course, we're quarantined, we're still together through Zoom, and in today's episode, I am joined as usual by Aaron. Say hello, Aaron.
Hello, Aaron.
Say hello, Eric. Hello, Eric. I don't know why I did that line for you, but that's it. We're going to be talking a lot in a second, so you don't get to talk right now. And hello to Conor. Say hello, Conor.
Hey, Seán, how are things?
You messed that one up. Okay, I won out of three. Somehow Aaron got it right. And okay, well, we're going to get straight into the running on this week's episode. So, yesterday I went out and I wanted to get my long run in, and I got a 10-mile run in. And then Eric texted me afterwards. He's like, "You beat me by 20 seconds." And Eric got a 10-mile run in as well. And on the surface, it looks like my run was better. But if you look at my 10-mile run, at my highest kilometer pace, I was going to 4:23, and my lowest was 5:43. So the way I compare it was, I was like Rocky Balboa. It was just keep moving forward, keep getting it done, no matter the cost, get 10 miles in, I'm done. Whereas when Eric did his 10 mile, his pace was a lot more consistent throughout all 10 miles. He was like Drago, the bad guy, the evil machine. He just kept moving like a robot at the exact same pace, pretty much at the same pace. And it was because we two different goals when going for the 10 mile. So Eric, can you talk about your goal running that 10 mile, why you're at that pace? And just before you do, I want to stress that because of my pace all over the place, had we kept going in terms of a half marathon, you would have won, because my pace was gradually slowing down because I was going at all different paces throughout that, whereas you seem to be a lot more consistent.
Yeah, so again, when it comes to my long runs, as I said through the podcast in season 1 when we were doing the marathon training, I try and work around my heart rate. So my heart rate for this one, the aim was to stay less than 150 beats per minute. So I was in zone 3, but I didn't want to go into the upper end. So I was trying to stay just below 150 beats per minute. So I think my average heart rate was 149 for the entire 16K, and my pace was kind of picked with that. I had a bit of fun with the run as well. I know, fun and run, but the boredom kind of took over the 16K to the same laps. So I started to run a little bit slower at times, but obviously making sure if I was 20 seconds slower on the average, the next time I ran faster, I was trying to increase it. So essentially a 40-second increase per kilometer pace, just to see how my heart would react to a change in pace and a change in speed. And at one point I was at a 144 beats per minute, and when I changed by 40 seconds, initially it spiked up towards 160 beats per minute, but after about 500 meters or so, it came all the way back down to the 149, 150. So I think the interval training that we're doing is helping. We are doing a lot shorter stuff, so I'm finding my endurance level isn't as high anymore. So I'm thinking I'm probably going to switch back to the longer distance stuff quite soon before I lose anything I have there. Yeah, it was, I think for me and you, the difference was, I think looking at your heart rate that you send on to me, and something that we're going to do between the four of us is kind of see the difference in how hard we're working while we do our different runs over the next 2 weeks. But I think your heart rate average was in 159, 160.
158, but like it was pretty high at some stages. I think at the highest was near 178 or so.
Yeah, 170 or 160. So you're working hard, and in fairness, you have a lot of hills, and that was related to the spike. But you could see that with yours, as you were even getting slower, your heart rate wasn't decreasing. You were working harder for working less as such. So it was interesting to see, but that's how I go about it. There's a couple of guys in work here because we all there's a lot of us living around here at the minute because not going home and stuff. So a few of them are actually picking up the zone 2. One guy went out for his run yesterday, and trying a really, really fit guy, and tried to keep his heart rate in zone 2 in a run, and couldn't run quicker than a 7-minute 40-kilometer pace.
That's slow.
So he was like, "There's no way I can do this. This is torture. This is terrible." And I told him to give it 4 weeks and see how it improves. But and that would be probably similar to yourself, Seán. I don't think you've ever ran a zone 2 run ever.
No.
So even though you're putting in marathon training and now the short game, your heart rate is still spiking towards the end of the 16K run because the endurance level, the zone 2, I would imagine isn't there. And that being the difference between the two of us on the run.
I agree with that. I think one thing people need to take into account when they're talking about heart rate training is you're looking for different results. Like if you're doing, it depends on the purpose the run you're doing. I mean, if the purpose, like running intensity is not the same as the speed of your run, because many of things come into your hills, even coming against the wind and stuff like, even on a hotter day, like if it's a really hot day, your heart's got to work a little bit more to like cool down the body. So there could be enough blood going to your skin to cool down the body as it is going to your running muscles. Because of that, your heart rate's going to go up, but your speed might not be there. So like if your purpose on the run is do this as fast as you can. For example, we were talking about a couple of minutes, like Conor and Aaron going for their 5K best time. They don't care about heart rates getting it done. But to your point, Eric, if it's more about intensity and monitoring that the heart rate stuff can be great there. And the running economy, like, so for example, improving your running economy by having the heart rate got lower, like you said your mate was doing at zone 2, and that's not there. And that's not there for me right now. And I can make the excuse to hills and stuff like that. Like if I did that, I'd probably be 10, 12 minute kilometers. So I think it's important to notice, and you kind of hit it there with the intervals, just having different purposes for each run. Like each run shouldn't be just running as fast as you can, like mine was yesterday. Most of my runs just get it done, whereas you've got more of a training plan behind it.
Yeah, and the important thing about it is, especially when you're doing stuff like this, is consistency. There's guys here who are top triathletes and top runners and ultra marathon runners, and there's all sorts of crazy folk knocking around here. But I got chatting to one the other day, and I was like, how do you get your speed down? He was wearing a 14 kilo weighted vest and was running a 410 kilometer for 8K. So, and I was like, how do you do that? But he's like, it's consistency. I was like, you have to be doing something every day, and it builds and builds and builds. And he was telling me about how to improve the 5K game. I was telling him how hard it was mentally just to even break the 20 minutes. And he was telling me that the intervals is the way to do it. Maybe extend them out, maybe 800 meters and pushing as hard as you can. Because at 800 meters, you're kind of reaching your red line, and then you stop. And then what he recommended was that we actually start. So say we do 800 meters, you do your run, and say you take 2.5 minutes as your interval rest time for your first week. Reduce that then to 2 minutes, minute and a half, a minute, 30 seconds, 20 seconds, 10 seconds, and then all of a sudden you're at that stage where you can break that time that you've set for yourself, because you've built the time up in the legs for your intervals, and then you've just increased your anaerobic fitness for the short distance run. Whereas the zone 2 stuff we're talking about, that's your aerobic fitness, that's your long distance, that's your go all day. I have to say I prefer the long distance already to the short distance. It's bizarre because on the Garmin it monitors your 7-day output from your intensity level, and it tells you like what state your body is in. So obviously I was doing a lot of running and cycling, running in the morning, cycling in the evening, getting a lot of minutes and miles, but it was able to do it every day because it was zone 2, so we could train every day. But the peak, I reached my peak there about 2 weeks ago of my intensity minutes per week. But I've been on a steady decline ever since I've switched onto this intensity running, because I'm doing a lot less miles. And my watch has now told me I'm in recovery mode. I'm not even in a productive getting fitter mode. I'm in recovery mode because my intensity. But I'm running harder and faster than I've ever ran before. And like Aaron, I made the 5K attempt the other day. I couldn't move for about 10 minutes. I had to just lie on the grass. My diaphragm that night was so sore. It was like I strained my entire diaphragm from breathing so hard for the 5K. But my watch, it's so frustrating. My watch is like, oh, you having a bit of time off, or is it? So
a lot of people listen to that going, geez, that damn Garmin watch, I need to get in that because I have no idea where my recovery is. Just a quick tip for people. As you're running, your resting heart rate's going to get, as you get more fit, that'll get lower because it just get the exact word. No, the heart, it just makes it easier to pump blood. It's easier, it's more economical for the heart.
More efficient, Seán.
That is the exact word I'm looking for. Thank you, Barry. It's more efficient. The heart's more efficient getting blood throughout the body, the fitter you get. So for people who are wondering, how do you know when you should recover or take a day off? You should check your resting heart rate, even on a Fitbit every morning. You'll see it's gradually lower. Mine's around 53, 54 at the moment. If I woke up one morning and looked at that and it was at 60, that means my heart rate is too high compared to what it usually is, and that should be a recovery day. So that'd be similar to a Garmin if you haven't got a Garmin or something like that, or even putting your two fingers up to your neck and checking your beats every morning. If you find your heart rate for some reason is abnormally fast now, it could change a little bit compared if you had a couple of drinks and stuff the night before. It might spike a little bit, but in general, if your heart rate is a little bit too high in the mornings, maybe you're working yourself a little bit too hard and you might want to back off a little bit that day and then check the next day and see what you're at in terms of recovery. But another point you hit there, Eric, was consistency. You can have the best training plan in the world. You can have all the heart rate stuff. You can buy all your Garmins and all the rest. But if you're not out there running, if you're not out there doing it, a shitty plan done consistently is a lot better than the best plan in the world not done at all. And on that note, Aaron, how's your runs going this week?
Not great. It's going to be tough for me to break this 25 minutes or try to get down as close to 25 minutes. I thought it would be a lot easier now, in fairness, but obviously isn't the case. Instead of doing the long run today, I've decided to do 2 5Ks or 3 5Ks maybe, and see if I can try and see what the decline is and over the 3 of them.
We talked about this before I hit the record button, and one of the things about that is, in theory, that makes the most sense, but practically, I think that's a complete wrong approach, because like myself, because what we have even in the Any Given Runday, the running club group, is we have 3 different type of runs each week, and we're improving on different things. So like Eric was talking about his zone 2 and stuff is more aerobic capacity, and he's combined with other stuff, so he's more a little bit anaerobic to an extent, but it's still a different training zone, working the heart differently, and all those combined will help as long as you have the overall goal of running 5K. But if you're just like, you will obviously improve if you did 5K every day, that will go down, but you're training on one flat plane. Do you know what I mean? Whereas we had a couple of different things there, it might work. Maybe not. I mean, you've only got 8 days, so it's completely up to you to decide what to do. And so Conor's doing pretty well. He's getting closer and closer to that sub 20. How you finding that?
Yeah, good. I think a little bit shocked actually that it's something I suppose that might be doable now for me. So the good week this week, I suppose, a week of personal bests. So went out on Monday, got a long run in a half marathon distance. So I got a personal best there of 1 hour 43 minutes. And I went out and did my 5K down on Wednesday. I managed to turn that around then in 20 minutes and 29 seconds. So I suppose, look, like I said at the beginning of this process, I didn't think I'd break 21 minutes to now be in a position whereby, 20 minutes or sub 20 minutes is possible potentially. That's great. I would attribute that down to the interval runnings, that we're doing with the hurling. Everything we do is short and sharp and fast in comparison to, in comparison to, most of what I would have done in kind of from a running standpoint. And I suppose similar to you, Seán, my focus would have always been on just looking at the time, as opposed to looking at heart rate and things like that. But what I'm noticing is when I go back and look at over some of the distances that I'm running my heart rate during that, I can see that, despite I would have run at a quicker pace and obviously exerted a similar amount of energy to do so, my heart rate is lower. So I think, what you and Eric are kind of looking at, it's really interesting. We've kind of touched on this in the past as well. It's something that I suppose from a hurling standpoint, it's chalk and cheese, because, at no point in time in a hurling match are you going to say, I'm going to stay in a zone 2 or a zone 3. At all times it's all out, and there's no kind of, there's no opportunity really for you to take the foot off the gas. But, at the same time, I think it's interesting, the idea that obviously, if you're training your heart to, to work in a certain way and improve its performance, that you can kind of see that result. So I think going forward, I think, for me, obviously now the goal is always going to beat Aaron, and I still think that there's a bit more in him than he's letting on. I reckon that I still need to break 20 to be completely safe. So that's obviously going to be the main goal going forward. But
you've only got 8 days, Conor. You've only got 8 days.
Only 8 days.
I love Aaron's putting the pressure on.
Exactly. But I think that looking at the heart rate training, you know, is something interesting to kind of maybe bring my training going forward. And look, obviously Eric kind of talks about consistency. Obviously, it's not something you can just turn around overnight and make it work. But you know, at the same time, we're kind of seeing that I'm seeing sticking to the process. You know, that's really working. I'm starting to see results. You know, and like whether it's, you know, for anyone listening, whether it's the gym or whether it's, you know, education or running, whatever it is, you know, ultimately one day you're going to turn around and you know, your personal best is going to be your warm up. You know, like when I started running properly, I suppose 3 years ago now, when I kind of did my first half marathon, you know, to think that I'd be, you know, running this quickly and enjoying it this much, and that's really the more important part. You know, I'm enjoying it. You know, I would have been utterly shocked.
I get you. Speaking of 5Ks, I think everyone is actually, Aaron, one of the good things you're not on Instagram for, because you probably don't know anything about this, but there's this trend now going on Instagram is like run 5, nominate 5, donate 5. That's, I knew it was freedom. So yeah, so there's a lot of those going around. Lads, have you been nominated much for this 5K as a mess with your training plans?
I've not been nominated at all yet. So I think it's because people realise that it's not really, like, I'll just run anyway. So I think that's why people have avoided nominating.
It seems like Seán is trying to nominate all three of us, checking out if we've been nominated before or not.
Exactly what it was.
He's gonna nominate us now, because it sounds like Seán has got a nomination. Have you, Seán?
I've got a few nominations already, but I've done my 5Ks. I do them every Monday anyway, so I'm not too concerned about them. But it's pretty cool that a lot of people are running more for charity and stuff like that. And a lot of people are getting out there and getting stuff done. Like
we didn't coin this 5K Monday, because we started doing this about 3 weeks before this whole Run 5 came out.
We did.
But it is great to see people getting out and doing it.
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool. But wasn't a guy? I mean, there was all different ages and stuff. Wasn't there someone who like did their laps or something in their front garden in England? Was he a World War II guy or something?
That's right. Yeah, well, that's a little bit different, but that's, and look, I suppose, you know, that's something nice to talk about. Like there's obviously former or veteran Captain Tom Moore in the UK. The man's nearly 100, and it's a great old age, but he's walked 100 laps of his back garden to raise money for the NHS workers. You know, which is a fantastic achievement, you know, for someone of his age. But the man has raised £25 million sterling to go towards the NHS. Yeah, I think, look, obviously first and foremost that's phenomenal, and you know, there's calls now in a petition for him to be knighted, which I think is you know, there's definitely cause for that. But I think it just goes to show that regardless of your age or fitness ability, you know, to be able to get out and you know, be active, you know, that's something we should all really work towards. And you know, I think that you know, going back to the 5K, run 5K, nominate and donate 5, like, it's a great initiative. But I think at the same time, what I've seen online is that there's definitely some people who are using it as or I suppose are looking at people posting their times and being disheartened that they're not running as quick. And there's definitely some people as well who are perhaps pausing their workout halfway through and taking a rest and then finishing it out to improve their time. And look, I think, you know, the way I've always looked at running is that it's a personal thing. You know, you know, we're all completely different. You know, and anyone that's not running in an elite setting really should only be looking to better themselves. You know, and I think that, you know, so things like this, I think, you know, all of a sudden the goodness is taken out of it when it becomes a kind of a challenge to see who can be the most impressive online or get the most likes, you know. I think we all should just bring it back to, you know, I suppose bring it back to what it's meant to be, which is, you know, being active, you know, improving our own physical fitness, you know, and raising money for good causes.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things I love about the running group we have on Facebook, is that like people are fairly honest. For example, I try to be as honest and transparent as I can do my runs. For example, on Wednesday, I did my intervals. I only did 3K instead because I was doing different classes before and afterwards. Now, someone in this group called me soft because of that, but sure, we'll leave that part out. But yeah, That's what I like about that. But you're gonna have some of that and stuff on Instagram and all the rest. But it's mad how creative people are getting with their runs as well. Like someone in Australia did a marathon running up and down the balcony and stuff like that. And Eric, you said there's someone running around in the state or something.
So one of the former colleagues used to instruct me here. He's retired now, but he's actually running a marathon in his estate. So he's making the most of staying at home by running a marathon around the green in the estate. So 26.2 miles, which is equating to 129 laps of his green. And he's doing it on Sunday, May 3rd. He'd love support to raise as much money as possible for Childline. And as he said, during this very tough time, home, unfortunately, is not a safe place for all children. And he's looking for as many donations as he can. It's really, really good. It's very impressive to watch, and he's put up plenty of videos of him running around the green, doing like the course check and the highs and the lows of the course, and he's just running past houses. His neighbours must think he's absolutely nuts, but it's so impressive to see. It's absolutely brilliant. But as he said there, he's doing it for Childline. It is a great cause, and although some people are enjoying the greater times of staying at home, unfortunately there's bad sides to it as well. But he started out raising like €1,000 or 2,000, I think was his goal initially, and like within the first day he burst through that, and now he's up, as I checked just before we came on, it's €5,900 he's on, and the target now is 7,000. So I think it's nice to give him a little plug. I'm going to enjoy watching it. I'd love to be doing it with him actually. I'm very jealous of that mind-numbing run that he's about to do. 129 laps around his estate.
129 laps. I find
129 laps, yeah.
Twice, like.
Hopefully the neighbours get out and give him a bit of a shout on, like.
Yeah, hopefully they do, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They get fairly bored after the second lap, though.
Yeah, the cars start blaring stuff, get the music going.
Get the music going. That's what they should do. They should get in their cars and get the music going for them, so it's just different every time. He's a big fan of Taylor Swift, like myself as well, so if anyone, his neighbours happen to listen to our podcast, get in your car, put on some Taylor Swift, you'll absolutely love it.
And get a plate of Jaffa cakes and just leave them on top of a car or something, so you keep the stuff. He has them as well. We'll get onto the Any Given Runday production crew to put the links in for the podcast.
Yeah, you better, Seán.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty much. I think we'll wrap up the podcast on that note. Yeah, so if you want to get involved in your own kind of running and stuff, be sure to add us on the Any Given Runday Facebook group. But if you're not on Facebook and seeing all these young, am I using the Karen word right there, Conor? Probably not. I don't know, but I'm not big on the Instagram. I'm on it anyway. But if you want to get involved and you're not on Facebook and you can't stand Facebook anymore, us old folks, me and Aaron are only on Facebook really. All right, Aaron.
Yeah, cheers, Seán. Yeah.
Yeah, be sure to tag us on Instagram as well if you do decide to get your 5K Monday in, especially if you're nominated for a good cause. Lads, anything else you want to add to this week's episode?
Get out.
Who knows? We might do our own little charity gig. You don't know, charity run. We might get something in, and we might, if anyone is struggling with kind of workout plans or training plans, we're not running experts, but we can definitely share what it is we're doing on a weekly basis, just so people can have something to follow along with. It might be something we can look at.
Yeah, I think even just, I suppose, just go back to the Facebook group. So like we've seen the uptake in people that want to get involved, really kind of really skyrocket. I think it just goes to show that that type of a community whereby, like we said, like everyone's kind of just working to improve themselves and offer advice and support each other in whatever way they can. There's real value there. So I suppose anyone that is interested, in obviously in joining in taking part in our 5K interval and long run challenges, and or even if has any ideas of topics to discuss, or as Eric kind of alluded to, events that maybe we could create, let us know.
Yeah, there is actually one or two running coaches in that group that I haven't even told you guys about, but I'll tell you about that when we stop to hit the pause button on this week's episode of the podcast. So, that is genuine. There is a couple of people running in that I'm talking to about that. And on that note, guys, thank you very much for listening to this week's episode of the Any Given Runday podcast. I hope you guys got a bit of motivation out of that, and especially since this does drop on a Monday, hopefully it does push you a little bit to get that 5k Monday in, or get any kind of run in, walk around your garden 217 times. I don't know, just something to try and get out there, stick within that 2k radius, but get something done as well. And that's it from the four of us for this week's episode of the podcast. From all of us, take care.
Good luck. Bye.
Good luck. He says good luck.
Oh yeah. Change it up.